Goodies. I am Gabie and I am wearing an amazing finished object, sweater number 20 by My Favorite Things Knitwear, and I'm excited to talk about that. I have a number of new whips as opposed in addition to a couple of other finished objects as well. So I'm excited to talk about all of that today. You can find me on Instagram and Ravelry at Gabie's Knit Goodies, as well as my hand-dyed yarn on Etsy at Gabie's Knit Goodies. And then I post lots of yarn pictures on Instagram at GKG Yarn. So let's get into this beauty. By My Favorite Things Knitwear, sweater number 20. And it is all over cables with a lovely V-neck that is a double collar. So you pick up stitches and you knit it with some increases and decreases around the point of the V here, and then you basically knit like double the length and fold it under. I absolutely love it. It is like thicker and squishier and feels more luxurious to have that double collar, and it kind of makes me want to put a double layer collar on like every single sweater because it just feels so nice. Yeah, anyways, this has been on my needles for like well over a year, primarily because it has all the cables, and all of the cables, while not complicated in and of themselves, they would all cross at different times on different rows. And I could not memorize it, so I had to have my chart with me in order to knit this. So I ended up just having this as an at-home, like on the couch knit when I felt like focusing. So even sometimes at home I wouldn't feel like focusing, so I wouldn't pick it up. It is knit on fairly large needles. I think it's a US 7, so pretty large needles, and it is DK weight held with a lace mohair silk. So I have white Swan held with cloud, and it is definitely luxurious, and it's warm, and it's cozy, and it feels like a squishy, cozy blanket or something. I don't know. It's just, yeah, it's lovely. It's like a hug. It is cropped in the front, but it has a longer hem in the back. I really like that because you don't have to worry about like tucking things in. I have issues with tucking sweaters in, especially that are anything larger than fingering weight, because then I feel like it's too much material in my waistband of my pants. So I feel like it gets bulky. So I really like the fact that this is kind of a high-low hem. The only real modification that I did was I did a round of decreases right before the cuff. On her pattern, the sleeve cuff is like really wide, and I had no desire to have like a huge wide sleeve because I just knew it wasn't practical for my life and I wouldn't wear it very much, and after putting all of this effort into this sweater, I wanted to be able to wear it whenever I felt like it. So I did a quick set of decreases before I did my cuffs, and that worked out perfectly. It's very wearable. I can fold the cuff if I want it shorter, or I can wear it long and have it be able to, like, you know, be super cozy over my hands. Yeah, I'm going to do all the details in a separate video, but I just wanted to wear this because I love it. If you aren't familiar with My Favorite Things Knitwear, and I don't know if she does all of her sweater construction this way, but I've done a couple of them. And this one, like the other one I've done, starts at the back, and then you knit like the front. So you knit the back part of the way down, then you knit the front like at the shoulders, up and over part of the way down. And then you join it in the round and knit the rest down. Pick up for the sleeves, and you pick up for the neck. So it is seamless, and I like the way this construction is. It gives a nice, like a lay across my shoulders. So it is a drop shoulder construction, but it has nice shaping, I guess, so that it's not like just a box that drops off. All right, more details to come in its own video. It's so lovely, it deserves its own video. Next item, I will continue with finished objects. And so my next finished object is, both of my next finished objects are Night Bloom's hat. It's a colorwork hat by Melissa Clulo. She's Espace Tricot in Canada. It's like a knitting shop, but they have a podcast. And this is a free pattern on Ravelry. And it's really pretty. She has a nice little pom-pom on hers. Her original pattern, I think, has a worsted weight merino. Like the pattern says it's worsted weight. It has a worsted weight merino for the main color and then a mohair, I believe, for the color work. So this hat I was doing and prepping as a sample for my knitting class to do color work with them. And so I'm using acrylic yarn that I have for that class. So 2 worsted acrylic yarns are a much larger gauge than what she had. So this one ended up turning out rather large, and my gauge was like 19 stitches per 4 inches, whereas the pattern gauge I believe is 22. So it's just a little big. So I was like, what am I gonna do? I like this pattern. It's a free pattern, and I've already put in this work. Yes, I should have swatched, but I didn't. So I was like, I gotta figure out something else. So what I did is I removed a whole section of the color work repeats, and I think they are 18 stitches long. So like one whole chunk of color work here I took out of the pattern, which was probably just under 4 inches. And then I only repeated the whole chart rows one time. So it turned out a little bit different, but still very cute. And you could knit this longer to have that a little bit more at the top and do your full 2 repeats. And I think that would work out fine, because actually, like in the pattern it says continue in stockinette until you're 8 and something inches, and I was already at that number when I stopped in this one, so I went straight to crown decreases. So I think that if I repeated this twice, I would still be right at that correct length that I'm supposed to have. So you could make this with 2 sections but still remove one of the lace repeat, one of the color work repeats, if that makes any sense. Anyways, this one worked out well. I really like the way that Melissa did the contrast color here before the ribbing. Thought that was really cute. And this one, just removing one section of 18 stitches, fits quite well. Yeah. So I really like it. Isn't that cute? So this one is like just big enough for my head in terms of this length, which I do like. But if you like it a little bit longer, you could totally do another repeat of this and have it look exactly like the original pattern. I did have to do like this much stockinette stitch before my crown decreases, even for this one. So, but it turned out really cute, and I like it. And you know, it's kind of a happy accident because instead of dealing with, I think, 108 stitches around, because the gauge is larger, my students only have to deal with 90 stitches. And that's a decent amount of difference. So it will be much easier for them and quicker for them to knit the hat, which is a good thing, because part of my class I want to give them is challenges, but at the same time confidence, and not overwhelm them. So I think that this will be the perfect combination for the majority of them. Yeah, I might have one in there that struggles a little bit because she just doesn't have a lot of knitting time at home. But that's okay. I think everybody else will love it. Something else I did for class was do a swatch. And I really like this color combination. It's toffee with sage. I thought that was cute. This is Big Value yarn. I think it's called Big Value. Big Twist Value, purchased at Joann Fabrics, and it's 380 yards per 170 grams of 100% acrylic yarn. I did not at all like working with this with my hands. I don't really like the feel of it, but for the price, buying a large quantity, it was kind of the only way to go for my budget, for my class. And the colors do turn out pretty cute. So lots of good colors to deal with. And if you're wondering about all this fringe, search, maybe I'll put a link for the video at the bottom, I don't know. But search swatch knitting in the round, if you have never done it before, because your knitting gauge is different when you do knits versus purls. So if your project is going to be in the round, you should swatch in the round, and then of course if you're doing color work, if you don't swatch in the round, then you'd have to go back and forth, knit some purls for your color work, which especially beginner knitters would be a little bit tricky. So anyways, moving on from that, two hats. Here they are side by side. You can kind of see the size difference here, but really height wise, yeah, I kind of feel like I should have done a second repeat here of the color pattern. Okay, now for new cast-ons. So this is a new cast-on. Oh, battery. Had to plug in my camera, so my battery is going dead. Alright, so new cast on, and like 50% of the way done already. I feel like this needs a drum roll because it's so glorious. Ta-da! Check it out. This is the Neigh sweater, and it is by Caitlin Hunter of Boyland Knitworks, and it has giant horses on it. I am knitting this for my daughter. It's the back and the front. It's just so cute. I have already gotten to where I've split for the sleeves for her, and yeah, it's a bottom up. I knit this bottom. I had some fingering weight of Maleficent colorway, which is showing up lighter on the screen, but it is kind of charcoal and forest green and purple and gray. I guess that's charcoal. So just a charcoal would work well too, but this one just has a little more dimension, which is fun. I held it double to do my hem. And then I believe it's the same color on the collar and on the cuffs, or the hems. Cuffs, sleeve cuff, hem, and collar. I think all have that contrast color, which I think is cool. Yeah. It is a DK weight sweater, and this is, my main color is coffee with cream, and then the horse is Mexican hot chocolate. This is how much I have left of my Mexican hot chocolate after the sweater section, and I'm doing the smallest size. And this is the coffee with cream, and this is my second skein. So doing the smallest size, I used 100 grams of the coffee with cream and a little less than that for the Mexican hot chocolate. This is a fun project, and it was a bit of a, maybe not learning experience, but practicing experience for me with the catching my floats. If you'll notice on her sample and on some of the other people's, you can see all of the places where they pick up the contrast color between the horses here. And I didn't like that. One of the things she has as a suggestion in the pattern, or as an option in the pattern, that she definitely didn't do, is the ladder back jacquard method for picking up floats, for catching floats. And so I decided to work on those skills. I had done it, I don't know, once before, I guess. I had done it before, but not a whole lot. So let me show you the inside here, what I've got going on. So this section, like here and here, you can kind of see that's where the horses are. And then this is the big blank areas. And it's, the ladder back jacquard actually gives you kind of a double knit fabric. So you create this kind of mesh so that you don't have big loose floats, but it also doesn't poke through it all to your other side because it's its own fabric layer. It did work really well. I had to determine as I went like where I wanted to have to pick up the stitch to do it, to add a little section of it and stuff, because it's not like it carries, you know, the same width all the way up. So that was interesting. And then after I finished all this color work section, I had a lot of puckering. I worked hard on, you know, pulling my colors to make it so I wouldn't have puckering, like stretching it out on my right hand needle. But I had a good amount of puckering like here in this fabric, like that second layer on the back was kind of pulling in, and I was a little worried about that. But this is wool, and wool does block well, so I figured it'll work out. And I did a very light steam blocking on the backhand side of this to kind of stretch out that mesh on the back of the Mexican hot chocolate. And like now it's usable as is, but it was a very light steaming of that. So if I did an actual blocking, I don't think I would see, like, I don't think I'd have issues at all with it. So I'm happy with it. I think it's pretty, and I think she'll love it. I kept it a secret from her for a while, but then I needed to see if it was the length she wanted before I split for the armholes. So, now she knows about it. Her birthday is next month. Maybe I'll finish it. I've picked up a new project, and this one has been set aside. I worked really hard on this, like all of December, and then, or half of December rather, and then I kind of dropped it because I've been asked to make a baby sweater. So let's see if I bring this one down. All right, this is the Storm sweater. It is by PetitKnit. Yes, Storm Sweater Junior by PetitKnit. And I started this just a couple of days ago. And it is for a friend, an aunt's friend's baby. She's a very sweet aunt, so I would do lots for her. She is very knit-worthy. She's never asked for anything for herself, although I did make her a pillow once. So you can see that it is coming along slowly. I guess slowly. It's only been a couple of days. Tinily. It's tiny. The one thing that I was excited about when she asked me to make her a little kid sweater is that they would be way quicker than a big sweater, so that would be fun. And I've been very interested in PetitKnit. I've never knit her patterns before, but I've always kind of wanted to try one because a lot of people love her stuff. So this is a great way to dip my toe into PetitKnit with just a tiny project, or a fairly small project. This is the top of the back. It starts with the back, very similar to the sweater I'm wearing, but it doesn't have shaping. It's just straight in the back. I think that the adult version does have shaping, but the junior does not. And then you pick up stitches here at the shoulders. I don't think you can really see it where I picked them up. And you knit both little sections down. And it has, it is a crew neck. But, yeah. So this little section's, one of the sections is kind of done. It has increases along the neck front part. Then the other one I'm going to finish, and then I'll knit back and forth along the front until the armholes, I guess, are big enough. Or until it matches the length of the back, I guess. Yeah. So, it's cute. I am using, I forget what this yarn is called. You know, it might not even be up in my shop. It is a worsted weight, 100% superwash merino. And this is a worsted weight instead of a DK weight. The pattern calls for Sandisgarn yarn, and that is 50 grams, 98 yards. So that's less than 200 yards per 100 grams. And typically DK weight is like anywhere between like 230 or so yards to 250 yards, somewhere in that range, per 100 grams. So I feel like this is definitely more of a worsted weight. Like my worsted weight here is to 18 yards per 100 grams. So I thought this would suit better. It ends up that I am knitting this fairly tight, but I really wanted this to be a good wearing yarn because it is for a toddler, or like a 1-year-old. So I really wanted the fabric to be not snaggy at all. So it's not so dense that it doesn't have any give by any means, but it's definitely a tighter gauge for the yarn than I would typically do for my own garments. But I feel like a little bit tighter gauge for the yarn will make it wear better for a little kid and not snag on things as easily. So you could probably just use a DK and be fine. Of course, you can always swatch and look at the suggested needle sizes for the yarns. That's one thing that I think is very helpful. I look at the yardage per 100 grams and I look at the suggested needle size. They don't always have that when you look at yarn, but if they do have a suggested like needle size, that a lot of times can kind of give you a good idea too. So if I was to knit a large one for myself, I would probably do the DK weight yarn, even though the yardage per grams is not the same as the Sandisk yarn, just so that I wouldn't have to knit as tightly, and I don't need it to be that tight. But I'm very happy with doing it, having a nice tight gauge for a child sweater. Less snaggy that way. Yeah, anyways. If I don't put a picture up, maybe you guys can see this. There we go. So it has like different patterns, but they're all knits and purls. So there's no like cables or anything. Yeah. So I'm excited about that sweater. So that's what I've been working on. It's been getting most of my attention partly because it is a knit for someone else and because it's a new project, which is always fun. And I finished the color work on the horsey one, so, you know, it's not as exciting at that point in time. All right. One more project that has been getting some love from me lately. I knit this sock. It is out of New Growth colorway, which is currently out of stock. I don't have any dyed up. My last one got purchased recently. But if you love this colorway for the spring coming up, which is, I actually dyed it last spring. And New Growth represents like the new growth outside in the springtime. If you like this colorway, just let me know in the comments down below. You can always email me, anything like that, or message me on Etsy. And typically I'll dye things for you with no added charge, just the regular yarn charge. Anyways, plain vanilla socks. I had used this yarn for something else as in a colorwork project, so I had some left over. So they're not super long, but they're perfect for kind of what I tend to wear. And I am that close to being done with the second one. I think and hope, and I'm crossing my fingers, that I have enough yarn. A little bit yarn chicken. These are ChowGoo 9-inch circulars, which is what I like to knit with for my socks. And I think, let's see, these are actually smaller than I realized. These are 1s, I guess, or 1.5. 2.25 millimeters. I tend to do 1.5 or US 2s, but really when I pick up things like this to knit, it's whatever I have available. So, and I think I have 60, I don't know, 60 to 64 stitches, somewhere in there. All right. I think that is all. I just have to show you this Mexican hot chocolate because it's sitting here staring at me. I love this colorway. I think I get on colorway kicks, and I'm on this colorwork kit or colorway kick, and I want like an entire sweater out of Mexican hot chocolate. We'll see. Too many things to knit. Not enough free time. That is like the story of my life, right? Anyways, thank you so much for chatting with me, and I hope that you're having a great time knitting yourself. And yeah. Here, cheers. This is a gift from my husband. He had it made by a friend of mine who is a potter, and it's called Acorn Pottery. And they did a personalized one with my little yarn logo, GKG, for Gabie's Knit Goodies. And I love the mountains and hiking and camping, so that's where the little mountains come from. Anyways, cheers.